Cool. Should be good. All right. I am back. Hello, guys. Let me just reset up again. Um, okay. We can now do problems 2 through 4 in one go because I'm no longer restricted by Zoom free version on the premium Zoom account. So thank you to the person who lent it. I will just refix my setup and then we can go. Okay. Mukhang everything is goods. Sige. Let's go. In preparation for the sorry, the first correction I only saw is this is made by the 25-26 A team. So that's Sina Alec, Edrich, etc. So thank you to them. Yeah. Okay. Let's go straight into it. Problem 2. In preparation for the 2025 national local elections, an aspiring mayor tasked his campaign team to plan the strategies they will implement during the campaign period. One of the strategies is to hold a short program at the covered court of every barangay in just one day, since there will be other strategies that will be implemented. The short program will be planned to last for an amount of time. Okay, finally, the given actually starts. Uniformly distributed. Uh, Uniformly distributed from 30 to 40 minutes. Upon arrival at the barangay covered court, the campaign team will immediately count the number of people, regardless of age, since targeting even the non-voters is part of the strategies. And if it is less than 20, the campaign team will not hold the program for that barangay and proceed to the next one. On average, the travel time from one barangay to another is 10 minutes. Okay. So those are the only 3 facts in. Okay, ang lala, pero whatever. The municipality has a total population of 1920 people, divided equally into 16 barangays. It's estimated that at any time of day, the person from any barangay has a 20% likelihood to visit the barangay covered court. As a member of the campaign team, you want to know the following. 1, the expected total amount of time the campaign team will spend for the short programs. And 2, what is the variance of the total amount of time that the campaign team will spend for the short programs? So this is obviously a question on conditional probability and conditional variance. So sige, let's just go through why this is the case. The first is na uh, well, the cheapest way to find is just like if the question is what is the mean and what is the variance, parang I think from our class examples, from our quiz 2, kapag mean and variance yung tinatanong, it's either really just conditional variance or it's really just conditional variance, conditional uh, mean variance, or uh, two RVs, which is yung E to the Z, EZ, sorry, expectation of Z is equal to EX, EN, and the variance of Z, which is, yung sabi sa Sir J's classes, Vixen, so that's Vixen times up my plus, I like to say, ano, XX Vietnam. That's just, that's my way of memorizing it. Anyway, okay, so let's figure out which of the two. I mean, I did say it is conditional, but why is this the case? Because if we break down the whole thing that we're looking for, which is the total amount of time spent on the campaign. So, campaign time. This is just this is a function of two parts. If you think about it, if you really break it down further, this is a function of first is the time spent per per barangay times the number of barangays, right? And that makes sense kasi this means na uh yeah, this means that we can basically just yeah. Okay. Okay, correction. Sorry. Looking at it further, if you can break it down like this, it's actually more likely to look like two random variables. So sorry, brain fart in the moment. It's actually two random variables, and essentially, we can break it down like this. So, going back to our givens for two random variables. Oh my God, sana hindi ako magaganyan sa exam. Anyway, so this is expectation of z, expectation of x, expectation of n, etc. That's the equations. So the first thing we want to identify, which is x, which is n. So there are two ways to identify this. The first is through restrictions. Uh, n is always discrete. The second way, if you have two discrete cases, although this one it's not discrete because you don't have two discretes. The number of barangays is just n. This is n, and this is x, right? Uh, yeah, cool. So, going back, if it's too discrete, the other way to also figure it out is just to simply look at the like I guess the intuition in the sense of the problem. So if you think about it, right, the time spent per barangay, that's medyo like logically speaking, it's after the fact of knowing how many number of barangays there are. Because you first have to know if you're going to the barangay or not. So going to the condition on if less than 20, this one. If less than 20, uh, sorry, just this one. If less than 20, then no program. So that's somewhat like, if you think about it, it's like a logical prerequisite to the of time spent at the event in the first place, right? So parang that's how you know. That's like the prerequisite is like your E of n, your n basically, before your x. I hope that makes sense. So if not, just message me na lang, I guess. Okay. So going back, um, we know now this is the assignment of the variables. Now what we're gonna do is first essentially, uh, sorry, uh, first we're gonna just set up what our EX, EN, VX, and VN are. I'm just okay. So let's figure it out. Uh, let's start with our EX. So let's start with our EX. Essentially, let's just figure out how long they're gonna spend time in each barangay. So going back to the question, it says it is uniformly distributed from 30 to 40 minutes. So just applying the expected value of a uniform continuous, that's 40 minus 30 over 2. So this gives 40 plus 30 over. Oh, okay, sorry. Not 30. Besides 35, right? Yan pala. 40 plus 30 over 2, 35. So, basta middle. Sorry, another brain fart moment. Yan. And then, our v of x. So, in this case, recall na, wait, let me just change. Because it's the, okay, recall na our v of x is equal to, so if we refer to our handy distribution, our distributions and stuff, we can determine that our, so the variance is just b minus a over 12, meaning our variance is just 10 squared over 12, which is equal to 100 over 12, which is equal to, can go further, 50 over 6, 25 over 3. Okay. And then, our right, our E of n, so expectation of n, yung sinabi is, so we were given two facts. The first is that the likelihood of a random person being at the covered court. The implication of that is, if the person is at the covered court, then pagdating ng campaign team, they will be counted in the 20 na minimum threshold, right? Meaning the probability of success, like if we define success as a person being in the covered court, the probability of success is 20, 0.2, right? Um, that's the first. The second fact we have is that the presence of somebody being at the covered court or not is independent. Yeah, and persons from any barangay. Yeah. So no implication that they are related, or if the presence of what like X amount of barangay of people at the covered court will uh, increase or decrease the likelihood. So we can assume it's independent. So meaning you have a series of independent trials or independent probability tests na 0.2. In other words, you have multiple independent Bernoulli trials. In other words, this is a binomial distribution. Uh, just write that down. This is binomial. So just to, I also need to get used to the notation. So what does it? So this is B. This is B. 120 for referring to 120. Sorry, hindi ko pa yan kinalculate. Got ahead of myself. So this is 1920 over 16, meaning per barangay, there is 120 people. Okay, so 120 binomial, P is equal to 0.2, meaning we could just get the number of people, the probability that we have 21 or more people, 20 or more people, because in this case yung sabi is kung less than 20, wala. Pero because 143 LU1 or 143 in general is a very time intensive test, I will just show the most efficient way, which is to get the opposite. So 1 minus 0 to 19. Kasi basically, we're getting the, parang same concept dun sa triangular na, we're getting 1 minus the failure cases. Because 1 minus failure equals the success. So 0 to 19 people is failure. So meaning we can just get that. This is 120, choose, so x equals 0. 120, choose x. And then the probability of success of somebody being at the covered court is 0.2. Let's just raise to the x, and then 0.8. 120 minus x. Okay, cool. All right. So then we can wait lang. I'll just plug this into my calc. So you guys can also, you guys don't have to pause also. So 0.2 raised to x, 0.8 raised to 120 minus x from 0 to 19. And this gives us the value. Tino-double check ko lang na tama yung pinagagawa ko. Wait, let me just be extra sure. Okay, cool. Yan. So now, this is equal to 0.848 department. Ay, hindi pa pala. Well, 0.8483. Nag-round up ako. ... But just make sure to store the value in your calculator. I think Jerome has taught that before in a past review session. So gawin nyo na lang yun. Just make sure to store your values. So no need to, I guess, write everything. Anyway, So this is the probability pa lang. Pero recall na the mean of a binomial is NP. Meaning, hindi pa to yung huli. We have to first get the expectation by multiplying this to 120. Wait. EN. Okay. Multiplying this to not 120, but to 16. Kasi, remember, N is the function or the variable that tells us how many barangays are there. The probability na we got uh, shows na the probability of a barangay being visited because, so wait, just to interpret this probability, 0.8483 represents the probability that you have 20 or more people. The implication of 20 or more people means na you will do the campaign and therefore it will contribute to the total time spent on the program. Um, that means na by extension, it's the probability that a barangay will be visited. So those are all equivalent statements. And therefore, if we multiply this by the total number of barangays, which is 16, uh, we can get the expected or the average number of barangays that will be visited, which is 13.57. Wait, this is just for me. I prefer kasi to write down like what variable I stored it in, but 13.5726. Uh, yeah. Okay. So then, that's basically our E of n. So now we have EX. So actually from here pa lang, we can solve for the mean na. Pero sige, let's just solve for everything sabay-sabay, no? Para mas efficient tayo. Now let's solve for Vx. So back to our uniform distribution. So we have a uniform continuous. The variance of this is b minus a squared over 12. So that means that this is 40 minus 30 squared over 12. Actually, we solved it now. Sorry. Ano ako? We're now gonna solve for v of n. V of n is basically, now we're just gonna check. This is a binomial. So we can check what the variance of it is. And it says np1 minus p. So we have that data, 16 a1 minus a, just for the sake of para gets niyo how it connects, I guess, and to save time on writing. 16 times a times 1 minus a. Okay, just to briefly explain it, we're just plugging in this probability. Again, we stored this on the calc, diba, para exacting values. So that's this, and then 1 minus p kasi it's calculating n times success rate times failure rate. So meaning, again, 1 minus success is failure and 1 minus failure is success, vice versa. Assuming they are mutually exclusive, which is the case kung Bernoulli trial sila. So this gives us 2 2.059144. If we just, yeah, dot dot dot. Let me just store this while we're here. So this is gonna. Okay, cool. So now we have all our values. All right. So now we can get the mean and the variance. So just starting with the mean, this is just e to the z. So this, I already wrote it down. So just copy this. Okay. So e to the e of x is 35. E of n is B. We saved it as B. So 35. Okay. We get 475.0404. Um, but in this case, this is kind of where I guess presence of mind comes in to exams. Uh, Recall that the problem said that regardless, it will spend 10 minutes in between barangays. So, assuming the most plausible interpretation and the most realistic, but to get to 16 barangays, you have to make 15 trips between each barangay. Uh, so, just recalling where that fact is. Travel time from one barangay to another is 10 minutes. You have 16 barangays. Plausible na 15 times ka magta-travel times 10 minutes plus 150. Yeah. So this is already in minutes, all the units. Just to recheck. Yes, all the things are in minutes. So meaning it's just a matter of adding 150. Therefore, the final answer is 625.0404 minutes. That is the expected time that it takes to go from barangay to barangay. Yeah, cool. Um, Now, I think what might trip people off is how this relates to variance kasi sa mean, it's just adding. Pero what happens to variance? Considering na may 10-minute travel time ka pa. Okay, here's a medyo sidetrack thought experiment, pero just think about it like this. So, let's break this down into a simpler question. Let's say I have a data set with 4 points and all of their numbers are 5. What is the variance? Because it's the same, right? All the travel times are 10, 10, 10, 10, 15 times. Here, simpler problem. Let's go through it step by step. So the mean of this is 5, diba? So what's the variance? Recall that in its most basic form, the variance is just e x squared. I sorry, no, not this one. The even simpler one is just x squared minus mu squared over something. Let's just see. I don't know. Over over mu ata. Something like that. Basta the top term is the one that matters. Kasi basically, i-plug in, isum mo siya, di ba? Um, get 5. Well, 5 squared minus 5 squared is 0, right? Meaning for this, 0 yung ambag niya to the variance. The same, since they're all 5, lahat mo siya ipa-plug. The mean is 5, and this will all be 0. Meaning, in a data set or in a set of samples where everything is exactly the same, the variance is 0. Meaning, in terms of calculating the variance, just I guess some intuition, some first principles lang of variance, it just doesn't matter to the variance. So we can just proceed without minding that this piece of information exists. So continuing, uh, let's now go here. So Vx 25 over 3. En is B. We stored it as B. Ex squared is 35 squared. And Vn is, where did we store that? We stored that as C. Okay. 25 over 3 times plus 35 squared. Wait, sorry. It might not be intuitive that I'm just saying BC. Essentially kasi, diba, we saved the values here. So this is just the so this is 13.5726. Same thing here. Yung C dito is just VN, right? Because these are like lots of decimals. Messy on solution. I hope it just makes it parang easier to connect the concepts also if we have placeholder numbers for them. Yeah. So, wait, pen is not responding. Okay. VZ is equal to 2635.5567 minutes squared. Don't forget your units. Minutes squared. So that's essentially it for problem 2. Okay. Just checking. So all the time. Campaign team was spent for the short program. So the variance of total amount of time. Campaign was spent on short programs. Okay, cool. That's number 2. Didn't use the free space. All right. Problem 3. Random variable x has the following PDF when graphed. The curve of the PDF resembles that of a half circle. So first piece of information, starting at the origin and stopping at a certain point A, dotted curve represents the half circle. If they're continued, the angle between x-axis and the radius that contains point A is 60 degrees. Oh, shit. Again, they did this last minute, guys. So thank you pa rin to Akaders. But that's another error. So I'll just read from the previous samplex, from the previous exam, what it is. I'll just read it slowly this time since wala kayong text to reference. So first question, what is the length of R? Round off your answer to four decimal places. And then write the complete mathematical expression for the PDF of X. Then set up the integral for the moment generating function of X. So let me just write that down. First is, I'll just write it down in simple terms. What is R? Second, make the PDF, then then integral. Integral for the MGF. So let's first start by just figuring out what R is. And I mean, honestly, this is very, this is the least directly related, but I guess it still tests a few concepts. It's really just a very brain puzzle vibes, no? Just take a screenshot of this really big diagram they prepared for us, so I can use it sa baba. All right. Okay. Ayan. So the first thing na we want to establish as a principle when we're finding R is that the total area, so the total, wag na maging OA, area equals 1. Meaning, we just have to find R. We have to first parang create an equation or create a term or terms that will basically like R something is equal to 1, and then we can work backwards, right? Because we know the area, we potentially can determine the coefficients that create this shape, and then we can just equate it to 1, which is the area, and then we'll get R. Also important clarification lang here, sagad dapat yan sa 0. Okay. Right, let's go. First thing is so the first thing you want to find out is the circle. We can break this down into two kasi, diba? First, giveaway na siya. It's also in the problem formatted like this. But this is a triangle, this is a circle. This is a portion of a circle. So the first thing I want to find out is, so kasi I can use the equation of a circle and then just put a fraction coefficient on it para portion siya of a circle, diba? So, want to find out ilang degrees to, complementary angles. The whole thing here is 180. So, just minus 60, 120. So, bit of ES 101. Recalling, I guess. Don't know why. Ayan, 120 degrees. Meaning, it's 1/3 of the original of an original circle. So, we have 1/3 of a circle. That's the first part. The second part is, so this is obviously our radius. The second part is you want to figure out ano to. So, if we just do user calc, di ba? Para di na tayo need mag-isip masyado. This is sine 60. This here is sine 60. And therefore, if we have it in terms of R, if this is R, right? this is uh, r square root of 3 over 2, right? And then if we do cosine 60, right, sorry, 1/2. So this is just r over 2. So we've identified na the whole thing in terms of r. So now let's use the area equations for these simpler shapes. So essentially, what we are saying is that this shape is equal to, sorry, hindi na siya mukhang circle, pero circle plus triangle, right? So now, we execute that. So 120, 120 degrees over 360 whole circle. Multiply that by the area of a full circle, which is pi r squared. Yes, tama. So that's the first part. And then the second part is triangle. Triangle is just base times height over 2. So 1/2 base, our base is r over 2, and our height is square root of 3 over 2. Uh, r. So diba, in relation to r. This is all equal to 1. So, just simplifying this, just so we see the process unfold. But technically, pwede naman tong i-calc. So this is now r squared over 2 plus pala to, sorry, equal to 1. Now, ano to? Sige na nga, let's just manually solve it para practice in arithmetic na rin. Get the common denominator, magiging 2, 3, and then this becomes r squared 2 pi plus 3 squared. So yeah, we can simplify that further and further and further, but I will not do that in the interest of time. 6 over 2 pi plus 3. So I'm just gonna calc the rest to save you guys your time also, because I know you like we're all cramming pa to review. Okay. So you will end up here with 1/3. No, I'm just double checking. Did I actually? Yeah, I did mess up. Wow, okay. Nice arithmetic practice, bro. What the hell? Okay. This is it. Sige na nga. I'll just calculate so I don't make mistakes. So just use yung shift solve pi x squared over 3 plus x squared square root of 3 over 8 equals 1. Shift solve. Oh my god, bro. Sorry, guys. Okay. We get 0.88956. So let's just round it to department standard 0.8896 dot dot dot. So that's your answer for the first part on finding the radius. I guess baka bawasan tayo ng points, units, of course. Wala namang sinabing length. Yeah, that's the final answer. Let me just store that also real quick. Okay, moving on. Next question is write the complete mathematical expression for the PDF of x, then set up the integral for the moment generating function of x. No need to solve for the integral. So back to this. All right, let's go. So next thing to do is to basically una is we have to first know what the equation of a circle is. So, kasi, di ba, duplicate ko lang to for easy demonstration. This starts at 0. This is some number related to R. If we can find what this number is in terms of R, this will make our lives really easy kasi we know what the value of R is from first sub-item, right? So let's just first focus. So this is the equation of a circle, and then it stops abruptly here. So we need to know two things. The first is, what is the equation of a circle? Second, where do we stop? So recall from math 22, 21. Recall from first year na the equation of a semicircle is square root of radius squared minus x minus radius squared. Sige, I'll just share my thought process here as to how I validated that this is true because, well, okay, admittedly, I had to look it up, right? Pero just sharing my validation process. If you put x equals 0, magkakaroon ka ng r squared minus 0 r squared, negative r, tas square siya. So magiging r squared minus r squared equals 0. Makes sense. At the point r, you will have r squared minus regular r minus r squared. You'll have r squared minus 0, which is r squared. Square root of r squared is r. It makes sense because this point is r. So tama so far. So those are just my thought process as to how I was like, okay, makes sense naman to. So now, the next thing I want to do is, well, first plug in what we already know. So this is a, yung stored value a minus x is a, right? So now let's just wrap this around the PDF of x. This is for when 0 are missing. We don't know. 0, let's just put 0 otherwise over here. This is still missing. Hindi natin alam to. So let's figure it out. This is the second part. We know that this is r. This is the radius of the circle. From when we were trying to derive the length, what r is in the first place, we used trigonometry to find that this is r over 2. Right? So this is just, so basically the total length is just r, plus r over 2. This is just equal to 3r over 2. Meaning, since we have a value for r, we just have to get 3 over 2 that value, and we will get the final answer. So, calc 1.334. Yeah. So then, yeah, that is essentially the PDF. The next thing na pinagawa sa atin is to set up the integral that will give us the MGF, right? So recall na lang na when we're trying to get an MGF, essentially kasi, the core of what an MGF is it's built on this function, which is the expectation of e raised to sx. This is the core of what an MGF is. An MGF is. And remember that an expectation is just an average. It's essentially an sort of average, right? And that is just the integral of e to the sx, right? Times the probability that the value of x is at a certain number, right? Meaning, but this is just the PDF. So meaning, I can use this alongside this to create the integral. So just copying e to the sx. And then since we know what f of x is, it's defined by this. We can just plug this in. Again, sa exam mismo, obviously, don't put a, put the exact value. But for the sake of showing how the values are used later in the problem, but also just to, for brevity, I'm just doing this. But don't do this exam. Almost complete. Just have to recall that we put some bounds here. So we have to reflect those as well. So kulang pala. I said 4 decimal yung standard sa department. Yeah, cool. All right, that's it. That's the final answer. That's problem 3. Okay. Cool. Sige. On to the last problem. Give me like 2 minutes. Let me just drink water. Skip nyo na lang. Naka-recording na. Oh no. Wait, let me just check if it stopped streaming. Oh. Okay. It's still live naman. Thank God. Imagine if everything got reset. I would actually be so sad. Sorry. What a tangent. Anyway. Um, okay. Problem 4. Well, in an IE27 class at Sunken Garden University, the probability that a student will pass the subjects is 0.6. With the low scores of the students in their long exams, the professor decided to give additional points for the final exam. An IE27 student can choose between 2 options. Option 1, automatically receive 2 additional points from the professor, or option 2, play a 2-phase game. Right off the bat, we don't know what this is doing here. Baka pang throw off lang yan. Let's see if it becomes useful in the problem later. If a student chooses to play the 2-phase game, they must go through 1, determining the set or range of scores the student can get. So already it's giving us a clue that this is likely two different, like two things. Let's just see if it is 2 random variables or conditional expectation. And 2, determining the specific number of points that the student will receive. To determine the set or range of scores that the student can get, a student must draw a ball from a box containing 5 maroon balls, 3 blue balls, and 2 green balls. If a student does not get the green ball, they must return the ball to the box and draw again until they get the green ball. Only after getting a green ball will the student be allowed to proceed to the next game. Okay. Let's just work with that information first para hindi siya super bulky, like mentally. So let's start with the first piece of information, which is that there is 2 phases to this, meaning it is likely going to be one of the 2 methods that we know in class. So that's the first piece of information. The second is, the first part tells us na there is something about drawing a ball from a box containing 5 maroon balls, 3 blue balls, 2 green balls. All right. So let's just map out like the logic of the question. So the question starts, right? Start. And then tells us na they must draw until green ball. So already there's already some RV already there. Draw green ball. Draw until green ball, right? Uh right off the bat, it says you have to draw until you get one green ball, meaning you have to try and try until you get the success case of one green ball. So therefore, you have multiple trials, multiple repetitions, discrete repetitions. Kasi syempre the act of picking the ball, that's one event, one Bernoulli trial. Before you get the green ball, therefore we know it's geometric, right? I hope you guys could follow that. Geometric, right? So then, the question now is what happens next? If a student draws one or two or three balls, the student will play a non-traditional coin toss. The student must toss 10 unfair coins with 0.6 chance of getting a tail and count the number of heads. The number of heads is equivalent to the number of additional points the student will receive. So that's the first branch here. Number one, you have unfair coin. Um, And right off the bat, let's analyze what the thing is. It's saying you have multiple coin flips, 10 coin flips, and the number of coin flips gives you the number of bonus points. But all we're really concerned right now is that these are 10 trials with a fixed probability, right? Meaning you have 10 trials. So the number of trials is fixed, and what we're looking for is the number of successes. So this means that this is binomial because you have multiple Bernoulli trials. Okay, cool. So, and then after that, you have if a student draws four, five, or six balls, the student will play a spinner wheel divided equally into eight distinct sections and labels 1 through 8. The label of the section on which the spin lands after spinning once will be equivalent to the number of additional points the student will receive. So my spinner wheel ka, you have eight possible, ano, uh, eight possible. So you have one trial, eight possible outcomes. Uh, Meaning you are looking at a uniform discrete. So pwede ka mag-spin the wheel. This is unif discrete. Lastly, if a student draws a total of 7 or more balls, so like bunot siya ng bunot, di niya pa rin nakukuha yung green 7 times. The student will play an observation game. The student will have to go to the grandstand and observe the arrival of jeepneys. The number of jeepney arrivals in 1 minute will be equivalent to the number of additional points the student will receive. Okay. On average, the arrival rate of the at the grandstand is 30 jeepney arrivals in 1 hour. Okay, so let's first just take in some information. First is jeepney arrivals in 1 minute, yung total points ni student. And we know there are 300 jeepney arrivals in 1 hour. So right off the bat, there is a mismatch in the number of units. So before you get too deep into the question, my advice is to resolve that already. So you have 300 jeepneys in 1 hour. That's equivalent to 300 jeepneys in 60 minutes. And that is equal to cancel 5 jeepneys per minute. So that is our this is equal to our lambda. Short tangent lang kasi I wasn't sure also whether or not you have to invert it or sorry, get the reciprocal. Remember, lambda is our rate, meaning it's something over time. Meaning you are always getting the what you call that? You're always getting us the certain amount of things over time. So in case sasabihin nila, for example, that one event takes 3 hours, then you have to convert that to be 1/3 events per hour. Kasi again, lambda is a rate. Rate is always something over time. All right. Enough with the tangent. So meaning, last choice is jeepney observations. So, back to the dilemma. Is this a conditional variance, a conditional expectation and variance, or is this yung EXEZ, EXEN, right? Uh, the way you think about it is this like if for example my logical flow between the events, then it's very fair to assume, like in this, now you can split it into scenarios. It's fair to assume this conditional probability invariance. But if it's just two things and the outcome is either just a yes or a no, um, it is very much likely that it is a uh yung two random variables. Kasi, sorry, looking back lang to our problem two, the possible outcomes if it's less than 20 is just no event. Grade 20 or more, uh, my event. And then the event is uniformly distributed. So yes, may parang prerequisite logical flow pa rin siya. Pero the alternatives here are really just happens, doesn't happen, right? Compare that to here, where um, there's no scenario where nothing happens after drawing the balls. There are three different scenarios uh, that are distinct from each other. So it's not a yes or no thing. Again, I don't know what the questions will actually look like sa exam, but I guess that's how I would look at it. And that's how I've been looking at it while studying. So hopefully tama. Kung mali, sorry. Um, anyway, okay. Going back, we now are asked for, okay, if the student chooses to play the two-phase game, what is the expected number of additional points a student will receive and variance as per usual. Kung may mean na hinihingi in this exam, probably may variance. And then, okay, so let's do that first para hindi tayo ma-overwhelm. So I'm just gonna lump them in together because let's just solve for the full table. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. Sige. So now we have, okay, just for the sake of being formal, let y be 1 equals you play the unfair coin. 2, when you spin the wheel. And 3, when you are jeep gazing. Okay. Um, sige. So now let's just do the traditional expected the sorry, expected uh like conditional expectation, sorry, table. So let's just start with the outcomes. Let's just do it chronologically. Pwede tayo ito. 1, 2, 3. First order of business, we have to find PY. Again, looking back at when we graphed out or we drew out muna the scenarios, the start is you draw until you get the green ball, which is a geometric. If it says without replacement, completely different story. Pero it says here that if the student does not get the green ball, they must return the ball to the box, meaning this is with replacement. Uh, so now let's finding PY. For scenario 1, 1 to 3. So meaning we just have to look for, well, una, we know this is geometric. So looking at our table, geometric is just P 1 minus P x minus 1. Right? Kasi, so applying that, didiretsuhin ko na as a summation. Again, 143. So also a time efficiency exam. So this is just 1 to 3. P 1 minus P x minus 1. But what's P? Remember, the success case here is getting a green ball. How many green balls are there? There are 2 green balls out of a box that has 5 maroon, 3 blue, 2 green. Meaning, 2 over 5 plus 3 plus 2, meaning 2 over 10, meaning 1 over 5. Again, wait, I'll leave some space kasi I'll need the space pala. Okay, again, for the sake of making it clear to future users, let's just make this plus denominator. Okay, so now we have P. Edi mahanap na natin. For scenario 1, for y equals 1, this is just 1, 3, 1/5, 4/5 raised to x minus 1. Plugging that into my calc. 0.2 times 0.8 raised to x minus 1 is 0. You start at 1 kasi, yeah, you don't start at 0 pag geometric. So I got 0.488. I'll just keep it in fraction form for now. It just prevents me from messing up, hopefully, in the future. Second part is, so mag-move lang yung bounds mo, which is why I suggest doing this in the exam also. Just put summation, so you just have to change your x. The second scenario it applies when there is 4, 5, or 6 balls, meaning you drew 4, 5, or 6. So meaning yung green ball is the 4th, 5th, or the 6th ball. So no adjustments needed, 4 to 6 lang yan. Pero let's say if it asks like, if you drew 4, 5, or 6 balls before the green ball, then you have to add the green ball. Like if it says before the green ball. But it just says, for this case, 4, 5, 6 balls in general. So kasama na si green ball dun. So this is 6, 4. You get a very messy fraction. That's roughly equal to 0.249856. But again, I don't wanna also just keep storing numbers. Kasi we'll just wanna prevent that. Just use fractions when applicable. Then store if cannot. Okay, same process. Hopefully you see the pattern by now. So let me just write that down again for future proofing. 4 to 6, this is now 7. Okay, so actually now this is like 7 to infinity. But it's like, that's not feasible to solve. So now, let's just be a bit smarter about how we go with this and just do p 1 minus p y equals 2 minus p y equals 3. Anyway, we have the first two values naman, right? So let's do. Okay, cool. Ayan. 1 minus 8. Okay, so I got 0.262144. Again, I'll just keep that in fraction form for now. All right. So that's our probabilities. Now we can just plug that in to our main table. Luckily for me, it's as easy as this. Unluckily for me, this Monday, it will not be like this. Okay, so just be careful when you're transferring. Sige. Next up is the expectation and the variance for each. Because when you get the expectation, you can just square it. So now let's move on to getting the expectation. And then for this part, I suggest knowing how to do yung, what do you call that? The spreadsheet function in your calculator. I guess if there's enough demand, we can do a separate tutorial for that. All right, pero for now, first scenario is you have an unfair coin. So we have to get the expectation under each scenario, right? So let's set a section for that. Find. Okay. And then just oh, sorry. Yeah. First start with the unfair coin. Unfair coin, essentially, this is as we identified, this is a binomial. And a binomial, the mean of a binomial is just NP. So we have 10 coins flipped times the probability of getting heads, which is what rechecking. 10 unfair coins, 0.6 chance of getting a tail. We care about the number of heads because that's equivalent to the number of total points. Now they will get us bonus. So 10 times 0.4, uh, that just gives us 4. So our expected value is 4. Uh, wow. Okay. Second, spin the wheel. The wheel, the value that you get on the wheel will be the number of points. Double checking. Section equivalent to the number of additional points student will receive. Okay. So the number they get will be the total amount of points. Recall, well, this one you can intuition a bit, but I understand we are both like relatable. Intuition goes out the window under pressure. So let's do it systematically. Spin the wheel. A plus B over 2, meaning lowest outcome 1 plus highest outcome 8 over 2. That's 4.5. Lastly, jeep gazing. Nakalagay na doon. We figured it out. We have 300 jeeps per hour. This is so this one you have a fixed number of you have a fixed number of things you want. You have a fixed number of time and you have things to observe. So short tangent lang on the lambda, like the lambda dependent probability distributions, how to tell which is which. Um, if the the amount of time is fixed and you're looking for the amount of things or the probability of the amount of things or the expectation of the amount of things, that is Poisson because time is fixed and then the number of events is counted. If the number of events is counted, like the first event kung exponential or the number of events kung Erlang, the rth event, if the number of events or the number of occurrences is fixed and what you're looking for is the time, that is exponential and Erlang. So that's how you can differentiate between the two. Poisson, time is fixed, items are counted, occurrences are counted. Exponential and Erlang, uh, events are fixed, and then time duration is what is counted. Yeah. So going back, this tells us that the jeep gazing case is a Poisson, and a Poisson is thankfully lambda lang. We know lambda is equal to 5. So lambda equals EX. And while we're at it, equal VX equal 5. So yeah, thankfully makes our lives much easier. And we go to variance now. As mentioned, 5 lang to. Thankfully, makes it easier for us. So now we move on to finding Vy given Y. So the parang scenario, like splitting the scenarios ulit. What's the variance? Okay. So unfair coin, let's start again. This is a this is a binomial, and the variance of a binomial is just uh, n times success times failure. The 0.4 is the success, 0.6 is the failure. This is just 10 times 0.4 times 0.6, which gives us 2.4. Sorry. Spinning the wheel is again a continuous, not a continuous uniform, a discrete uniform. And uh, the variance of that is just, well, you have to, medyo mano-mano siya. Ito yung x minus the mean over n. Although, from what I understand, gumagana rin yung n squared minus 1 over n. Oh, yeah, over n. Don't just, if you have the time, do it manually. I believe this only works if the bottom of the bound is 1 and if it's consecutive. I think those are the two conditions for this shortcut. But otherwise, use the long equation na, so basically with an asterisk ito, x minus mu squared over n. Well, mu kasi kapag normal lang. I think, like use the notation. Expectation squared over n. Um, in that case, I don't have the time, so I'll just use the shortcut. This is just 8 minus 1 over 8. Sorry, 64 minus 1 over 8, which gives me 5.25. Double checking 64 plus 1. Wait, yeah, sure. Sige, just use this equation. Gives you 5.25. Okay. Well, actually, just in case, baka malito pa kayo. This is a very niche case equation kasi. So just use this one. If you sum everything, medyo matagal-tagal siya eh. Whereas just like, so 1 minus e x squared is over n, blah, blah, blah. Just sum everything. Sum all the difference from the mean, which we found out to be 4.5. So it's just a very long process. But yeah, mano-mano na yan na part. Third, jeep gazing. Again, as we mentioned, is the variance is equal to 5. So na-solve na natin yan. 2.4, 5.25. Okay. Last is just to square this whole thing. So, since para tipid, yan. 4 squared, which is 16. 4.5 squared, which is 20.25. Double checking. Let's just put 81 over 4. And then, sorry, major inconsistent. Fractions, I would say fractions are better. Wait. Sorry, for consistency lang kasi na-weirduhan din ako. Okay. Back. 5 squared, 25. Cool. So we have all the data we need. What I'm gonna do now is, well, I guess you guys can take, oh my god, what happened? Oops. While we're doing that, I'm gonna plug it all into a table. Let's make it easy for me as well. For 9 over 2. 2.4. 21, 5, 16, 81 over 4. 25. Okay. So I guess I'll just show like how I think about it in spreadsheet form sa calc. So um separate this visually. You can like mentally separate this. Kasi, 'di ba? It's this times this plus this times this plus this times this. This is effectively like kasi expectation is like a weighted average or simply the average, right? So tina-times mo lang yung expected value times the probability that the parang you're taking the average pinaka expected value. You're just taking the expected value per scenario times the probability that that specific scenario will happen. That's essentially what's happening kasi. So, I will just put a sum sa baba. So sum everything. Just put sum functions across the whole thing. There's a function called fill formula, FILL formula. Sa baba, if you guys are familiar, you can just use that. I believe it is worth it. If you guys are only learning it this weekend, super worth it siya. Save so much time. So this helps you check na rin na tama ginagawa mo. So this just sum. This should sum to 1 all the time because that's your probability of per scenario. Just filling in the sums from here. This is 13.5. Ay, wait. Naka-mention ko lang. Sorry. Naka-mention ko lang na should be times the probability. So parang should be this times this. I apologize. I literally just said that. So the first thing you want to do sa fill formula pala is multiply the A column or this column with this column. May dollar sign din sa what you call that, sa calculator. Like same is literally the same logic as Excel. So my recommendation is if you want to learn it, I think now is the time. Very useful. Anyway. And then just getting the sum per column. B5. Wait, sorry. Just okay. So all right. So now the weighted, I guess we can call it a weighted sum. Is 4.387. $3.7936, 19.421. For the first sub item, that's already your answer. This is your answer. This is E of X. But we're also asked for the variance, which is why we went straight to the big table na, diba? The variance is just what the hell? Okay, the variance is just this. So this is your first term. This is your second term. This is your third term. 1 plus 2 minus 3, but you square that first, right? So let me just do that in my calc real quick. I've done that, and now it's time for oh wait, apologies, something happened. Okay, cool. So now, recall the variance of X is just this term plus this term minus this term, right? Both squared. If you recall from IE 28, the like I guess if it helps you remember like how it works in theory talaga, essentially you're getting caused by um the variability caused by like the difference per scenario and the difference in expectation per scenario and all those things. I don't know how it specifically works kada term, but all you need to know is that like that's just the variability of the function itself minus the variability caused by just randomness about the average. So you're just normalizing it with respect to the average in a way. Pero that's not necessary for the exam. But if it helps you remember the equation, then better. Um, so yeah, that's just sige. Let's do the ABC system para mas madali siyang sorry. My pen is luma na yung pen ko, guys. Let's just define this as A, B, and C. So this is C. Yeah. This is just C. Wait, ganun pala siya. Yan. And then this one is the one squared. Yun yung distinction nilang dalawa. The squared is inside, the squared is outside for this case. X. Let me just fix the notation. Expectation. Yan. Okay. Okay. Sorry, it's bugging out. My iPad is overheating. So going back, so this is basically just the value C here. Minus B, I plus B minus A squared dito, right? This gives us 3.9684. Oh, units. Sorry, guys. Points. Points squared. So that's effectively law of total variance. That's also how we got the variance here. And that's the first two sub-items. Okay, cool. Next is sub-problem C. I can't believe they made people do this for 2 hours long, to be honest. But okay, let's finish this off. An I-27 student seeks your help. Oh dear. They want to be at least 80% certain that if they play the two-phase game, option 2, they will get a number of additional points not less than the 2 points they will get by choosing option 1. What should an IE27 student choose, option 1 or 2? So essentially, parang pinapahanap sa atin. So let's reverse the question because it's worded in a very challenging way. But essentially, it's just saying, is the P that you get greater than two or more additional points? Is this greater than or equal to 0.8? That's what it's basically just asking. If it's greater than 0.8, then we play the game, choose option 2. If not, let's stick with option 1. That's what the IE like 27 student is asking. So let's just find this so we can compare it to this, right? So let's look for the probability as greater than 2. So now, balik tayo sa total probability rule, 'di ba? So going back here, we have the probability per scenario, and we basically want to get like, so we have the probability per scenario, 'di ba? What we want to get is per scenario, what's the probability that you get that you get greater than 2? What I'm gonna do here, because 2 is 2 is less than the expected average, right? Because the expected value is about 4.387. So it's just more time efficient to get 1 minus failure ulit, which I suspect will be the case this LE. Let's just get the probability of x, sorry, given y. Pero in reality, guys, this is just you take every sub scenario and then you get the probability that is less than 2. So the full statement actually is probability x less than given y. Yeah, cool. Okay, let's start. So the first is para lang ma-refresh tayo kung ano yung mga kada scenario. Okay. So, 1, unfair coin. 2, spin the wheel. 3, jeep gazing, quote unquote. Unfair coin, recall this is a binomial, meaning all we have to do is to get the failure cases. So this is 0. So again, less than 2 yung hanap. Ay, since greater than or equal to 2, less than 2 yung hanap dito. So this is just 0 to 1 binomial. So it's 10 choose x. 10 choose x. The probability of success is 0.4. This is raised to x times 0.6. This is raised to 10 minus x. Okay. Solving this, I will just plug it into my calc. Kaya nyo na yan. Give me a bit. And choose 0.5. Then choose 2 times 0.5 raised to the x times 0.6 raised to the 10 minus x. 0 to 1. I get 4.534962, which is what the hell? Okay, sorry. 0.4535 department units, department decimals. Sige. Save the few values. So let's just start with D here. Again, arbitrary to. This is just me marking like where I'm saving it on my calculator. Because, I mean, this review session is also sort of practice for me. Pina-practice ko lang. Kasi I'm gonna be using stored values a lot. Yan. Anyway, basta we store this value, TLDR. That's the first part. The second part naman is the probability that we get less than 2. Recall, this is just uniformly distributed from 1 through 8. So the only way that we get 2 less than 2 is if we get 1 out of the 8 possibilities. Therefore, this is just thankfully 1/8. So mental ano lang, mental exercise lang, 1/8. Last one is the Poisson one. So this one, we just have to recall the Poisson. I believe this is e to the negative lambda, so -5, because recall that lambda is let me check lang kung tama yung ginawa ko. Poisson. Yes, okay. Nice. All right. So now, again, we go back to the calculator. Where is the... Hindi ko manap yung factorial weights. Ayan, okay. I found it. 0 to 1. Yeah. So this is like some really small number, which makes sense. Because it's like, kung yung average is 5 per minute, yung chances na 0 or 1 lang should be very small. Right? Because if the average is 5, sobrang unlikely dapat. from intuition. 0, 4, etc., etc. I will store this in the calculator also. Okay, so now that's our. So again, this is weighted sum lang. I guess okay, since we don't have oh my god. Kinabahan ako. Since we don't have as many terms, I will write down the full what I mean by the weighted sum. Para lang din can follow. So this is just 1 my dito na may space naman eh. The probability that x is greater than 2 or equal to 2 is 1 minus the failure case, right? So 1 minus p x less than 2. All right. So then just 1 minus 61 over 125 times d plus ito times 1/8 plus ito times e. Okay. This should be, I hope it is. I would be very sad if I made an error. Wait lang. Sige. I-fair check ko sa calc para naman hindi kayo malito na iba yung nakukuha niyo. Like, baka mali. Like, in case I made a big mistake. So I'm just gonna type it all in the calculator. Give me a bit. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Sorry. Sum function. Wait, huh? Fill formula. So, dun, 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 dun. Okay. This roughly should be, so etong whole term na to will come out to be, wait, this whole term will come out to be wait, this whole term will come out to be roughly 0.6445. 0.06445. So 1 minus 0.06445. But I have spotted an error. Sorry guys. This is yung D natin. Yung D lang naman yung affected. If I run the calculations on that. Sorry. 0.6. 10 minus 6. 10. Choose 2. Choose 6. 0 to 1. There we go. 0.4636. 04 pa pala. That's where I messed up. 0.4636. Sorry. Hopefully somebody spotted it. Okay. So when you fix that, you get this, and then 1 minus that, you essentially end up with 0.9355. Okay, so meaning the interpretation of this is that the likelihood that you will get 2 points or more is 0.9355. This is greater than the 80% threshold of uh, the IE27 student. Therefore, they should choose option 2. That's the conclusion. Okay. And that's it. That's the whole exam. We took more than 2 hours to complete this exam. So it's a bit concerning, but I did do this very slowly. Hopefully, may natunan kayo. Hopefully, this was worth your time. If you're watching, I guess please like and subscribe. Kasi, yeah, our goal really in ACADCOM this year is to grow the YouTube channel ng review sessions. It's our competitive edge, I guess, as I Club na we're like one of the first orgs to be doing this. So sobrang, we really need your help making this popular, not only inside the org, but outside. So ayun, that's it for me. It is now 12:30 on a Saturday before the exam for people watching in the future. Thank you for your time. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, just message me. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys. Now I end the call.